Так, продолжаем наши...
So we continue this wrapping up this final session. Europe promised that he will make our spirits better, and that's it. Do you need some water or tea or what to improve your mood? Well, it's well known 7 musical notes exist. With F it all starts, but what it ends in I do not know. If anybody knows, please let me know. So the instrument and the orchestra, they try to attune itself to the musical note F. Sorry. So I suppose we're all ready. We're all happy because we're performing here. At that we first saw clearly and distinctly, very much like what we see usually when we see things in black and white. Black, as we know, as astrophysicists say, it has 80% of the dark matter. And on the darkness, not in our bodies, rather, not in our minds, we shall always see more of it. But we try all this light that we have to keep it in place and repeating like a refrain. As that we need to talk and carry out discussions. This is exactly this condition of your mind and soul when we try to keep the light and not to lose this C note, and to try to attune ourselves at. As always during the seminar, many interesting things, and you keep thinking, well, I'd better get involved in the discussion to respond maybe to something, to continue something, make a remark. But there are usually many utterances I do not want to repeat them an impromptu, but I suppose only one that we heard at the most recent session, the utterance that immediately came to my mind. And during the session of Lord Skidelsky, when it was said that I was born in the Soviet Union, it was not myself, but the young man says, who was saying it, you were also born in the Soviet Union, Lena says. That's why I think this way, and he just started very convincing arguments. I want to repeat this phrase. I was also born in the Soviet Union. Lena was born in the Soviet Union. Many people were born. I was born much earlier than you. And given that we have Chechens, Ingush, I just want to say, I sometimes mention it, and if somebody heard it, I apologize for repeating. Repeat that I saw very different things than the parents of that young man. When I was 44, when I was 6, in early April on the 2nd and 3rd, closer to spring, as they brought into a remote settlement of eastern Kazakhstan, a train arrived. There was snow, it was 1 meter deep, it was cold, and out of that train they unloaded, just onto the snow, children, women, and old men and women, Chechens and Ingush. I cannot forget it. Because we as boys ran because they started a fire and they sat on the snow actually before they were distributed to to settle somewhere. But this is something that is still unusual something that is still in my mind. And this is something that got stuck in my mind. And I cannot forget how back in 1951, that the first story I'm telling you is sharing with you, 1944, when in East Kazakhstan they announced the martial law, because in Ust-Kamenogorsk, that is already lived in that town, there was a lead factory, copper factory is one of the metallic, it was polymetallic capital of the Soviet Union. We had Magnitogorsk and some plants in Siberia of the communist future, and the same in Ust-Kamenogorsk. And this is where we needed workforce, and they brought there from all across the Soviet Union about 20,000 people. And they were brought in summer. They put the tents up, we had to settle there, to live there. But during that time, the Chechens and Ingush, who settled some to the mountains, others to, and where the river Ulba falls into the Irtysh, a Chechen settlement arose. I lived there, and we had friends among Chechens. It was not clear, as usually the case is in such cases. Probably the Chechens and Ingush wanted to return back, and probably And the fight started, which led to martial law, because killed and wounded appeared in this on the both sides. Those people who lived in tents, first the Chechens would try to then loot the tents, then the military commands pushed them towards the Irtysh, and they tried to save themselves swimming. That also happened under my very eyes. And I would remember, like in 1961, when I studied when I was at university in Moscow, and I wanted to go to my summer home to see my mother and father during the summer vacation. I remember, just like usually, the train stopped for 30 minutes. Or rather, I was already on my way back, from vacation. On the same train, the same car, it was Chechens, probably whole family, because they had old people. Probably they departed without permit. And in Novosibirsk, they went back home. During the train stop, armed people got on the boat and unloaded them all. And I saw there were men among them. I saw male faces, as I will remember that. I just see it, I sense it. This male helplessness before a situation when you cannot protect and defend children or women. What do you do under this situation? And let me finish this story, because later on I worked for the journal Vопросы Философии, that was 1969. And a relatively young man from Chechnya arrived to this. That was back in 1969. There were some party verdict, party resolution about their permit to return home. But in point of fact, the question was not yet finally resolved. Had not yet. And the Chechen arrived, a young Chechen, and they told me to... I was supposed to draft an article about the Chechen man of enlightenment, because the editor-in-chief and the journal by that time, the editorial board was very new, and very young, talented people joined the editorial board. Let me give you some names. They were Mirab Mumardashvili. Mirab was deputy editor-in-chief, Frolov was editor-in-chief, Zamoshkin, Borya Grushin, then Sasha Zinoviev, who later emigrated, and others. Well, during, for 2 weeks, we drafted the article. The article was not immediately published. It was published, say, in some 6 months. Then a resolution was adopted by the Central Committee. It was 1971-72, probably, when the question was resolved at last. But at least I took part in this too. So I want to say is that I understand young men from Chechnya, and I understand the situation given when the perestroika started. In Kazakhstan, and not only in Kazakhstan, mafias evolved. Kazakh, Chechen, and other. And all this difficult process that started, both of the return home and the resettlement and the collapse of the Soviet Union and all other things, it gave rise to the situation which are living through. Quentin was referring about the collapse, disintegration of the empire that takes long, which happens in our minds. So this load of legacy, Soviet legacy, it's indeed, as Sergei Shumakov put it, on day one of our seminar. It's here with us. It's here, the Soviet Union, the Soviet people, and our desire on the one side to be together and at the same time to be independent entities, citizens, individuals. It's very hard. It's very hard to combine it. And it seems to me that the seminar which took place, you have felt it you felt it. It's somehow, when many more things, we now better understand them, and they brought us together. We are already not so much about coming to agreement. Well, we already internally have come to an agreement. We got back our confidence and the desire to live together, to work together, and some kind of, I have this feeling that it's overwhelming me, although again, it started on day 2 after the school was declared a foreign agent. I can sense that this didn't stand in our way because you traveled to attend the seminar, and we had a lovely meeting. I want to say so many things, and I won't continue now because you are tired, and I'm sure that we shall see you again, and I will draft a report, a presentation. I have it. There's so many things I wanted to say, and I will share with you things that I am living sort of till the next time. So thank you very much. Do you want to say a few words? Please, microphone. I want just to add some things that, as Yury put it, we shall survive. We carry on.
A new flag, please, with the new name. I've still got the Moscow School of Political Studies, so I need a replacement because clearly it's going to go on for a long time.
Well, I want to thank those graduates who joined us today deliberately to attend this seminar. It is really great. And maybe a couple of words, not to get too much, maybe 1 or 2 people from these very new students. Would you like to share your view of the seminar? Zhenya, are you new to this seminar? I'll put it very briefly, because usually I'm very verbose and many people may not be unhappy with this. Today, after, or during and after the presentation by Skidelsky, I saw things which I still haven't seen anywhere before. I saw what a Russian civic forum should look like, because one after another people spoke very excited by the presentation by Lord Skidelsky, and each of those who spoke outraged the other half. We listened to liberals, we listened to nationalists, we lead activists from the Young Guard, we listened to pro-Kremlin. Obviously, I don't know how else to designate people who disagree with what is happening here and who try to get this message across. And it really outraged the others, and we were sitting here saying it's democracy. And everybody should say, I haven't seen anything like this before. I very much hope that sites like this would be plentiful. And if somebody is recording this, let them hear it, that we are working on for the sake of peace here. This is what peace is created. Thank you. Zhenya, you will accompany us in court and support us in courts. Well, please. Once again, hello, colleagues. I just want to speak down to earth matters. It's an amazing sight. We are together. We are on the Echo of Moscow, known the School of the Agents of the State Department. Even the colleagues who belong to the opposite liberal point of view here, like our colleague said, you are also there. Don't forget about that. But in reply to these excellent utterances, well, I wanted to just say, what was the seminar about? Can anybody share with us, apart from these labels that you seem to attach to us, if anybody is ready to share what it was all about? Sorry, the musical note was certainly A. Well, once we began to, we started to think, excellent, once, what else? What else? What was the seminar about? About us. About us, yes, about us. We began to think, what else? About the future and about the present. About the present and the future. Yes, okay, well, what future, what present? Bright, difficult future and difficult today. Okay, I see. Anya, may I say something? You will be next. Well, I have always, by the end of any seminar by the school, but please give answer to my question. What was the seminar about? Well, thinking that is important. Thinking about us, that's even more important. Yes. Well, I even lost my thought. Well, for me, this seminar, very much like the ones before it, was about some feeling that it makes sense, all the struggle and the efforts that we take, and there's 20% of light in the darkness, or maybe even more, through our efforts, will deserve all these efforts. They make them worthwhile. Let me just share it with you. Each seminar ends in ecstatic and delight and just ecstatic thoughts, because I feel so well. Although there's so much darkness in my life and in my work recently, but when you find yourself here, you forget about it, because it's a special space with very special people. It gives you strength to carry on working and believe that maybe it will work, or maybe many things will work. Thank you very much for that. Well, you're next, please. Well, first him, then you. It seems to me we started to assume responsibility. Responsibility for what we do, for what we think, for how we act. I think that for me personally, this seminar was about the importance of freedom, and it's worthwhile to fight for it. For example, in point of fact, my thought is what needs to be done to live better and be better. But how to listen to your other people's opinions without betraying your own? And this is the most important question. Ethics, ethical code of journalism. What it's all about in this difficult time, and how to get a message across, this truthful information, which is so important for us, so that we shouldn't play games with the government. Well, thank you. Christina. Well, it's my first time here, and I get this impression that unlike many other sites, the school doesn't give you answers. There are no answers that can be found. There are many questions here, and it teaches you how to think. We had many economists who spoke from different perspectives, their vision. We had many journalists, and it is this kind of pluralism of opinion, diversity of opinions, and when you choose your own point of view. This is, I think, but there are no ready answers that the school gives you. It all depends upon each and everyone. Yes, please. To be honest, I have very much utilitarian or down-to-earth approach. I traveled here as I was disappointed. I traveled here after I was got disappointed in my job. I'm a journalist, and it thought to me, it doesn't make any sense to carry on working in journalism. Thank you very much for helping me get my trust in this job again. You wanted to say something, didn't you? I wanted to continue on things that many questions were raised, but no answers were given. I wanted to say that sometimes to ask a question correctly and the art of raising questions helps address the problem. This is something I learned here. Thank you. Your opinion, please. Well, you know, I wanted to somewhat go back to the words by Mr. Peel that a true journalist makes our views on the world wider. Here we hear in the space of true journalism, we open up new horizons and get to know something else, something new. And this is really salvation for many journalists. I want to join with my colleague who said that she now got back her trust in her job, journalism. Well, people in the second row, please, one or two. Well, you know that for some reason, one very important thing, we want it not just to be better, we want it better in our country because we love our country. I am from Ukraine, I love Ukraine, but I also love Russia. And in point of fact, we should build, and we're learning how to do it, and our society, our civil society, should help us become better in our country. Thank you. Well, you, please, next. I got many things from this seminar, but 2 points are most important. First, as I met new excellent people, and I always treasure these new acquaintances. And secondly, as it may strange to somebody, I confirmed for myself again how much in demand and how relevant my looks are. For that matter, the seminar was about the movement, and you are stable in your looks. Well, for me, personally, this seminar was about ideology and about ability not to talk to people with different opinions, but people from different countries, despite whatever situation which could exist between the two countries. And since I have the mic now, I want to thank you for this warm reception of the Ukrainian delegation. It was very important for us. We wanted to be heard, that you heard us and you understood us. Like we, the three of us, Anya is with us, Anya is from another part of our organization. We, the three, represent the NGO, Students' Republic in Ukraine, and we want to invite you to attend our event in the very near future, in early February, to show you that we are ready to listen. The Russians at our website, site in Ukraine, and we want to make it as good and to open up to you very much like you did it for us. Why didn't they listen to the Russians in their own country for a change? Interpreter's note. So I'm in graduate of 2005. Firstly, I always speak here as a graduate, and what I want to say right now, why I treasure these relations as a graduates network, although many things link me with the school, but this is what matters for me. I think for me, the seminar was about many things. It was very much about what this school is about and what it is for me. And it is for good reason that we recalled today, and I'm very thankful to Quentin Peel for this final session that ended the seminar, because it seems to me we spoke a lot about some path that the civilization is following. We spoke about empires, we spoke about things that we recalled how the European Union evolved when the states made their borders transparent so that it should make no sense to capture lands and to avoid wars. Nowadays we see certain need for making it more modern and making the institutions more humane. And I suppose the human aspect is something that is missing there. And maybe because the society is lagging behind, in terms of the states are lagging behind. And it has not become transparent for one another. And it seems to me that is why, Lena and Yury Petrovich, the school is so much in demand in the world. In point of fact, the school, this is not my words, but words by high-ranking European officials, the school is an example of Russian leadership in Europe. The sites like this, like the school is a dialogue for different citizens, irrespective of their positions and office they hold. This idea evolved then in other countries. Now we have over 30 schools who are continuing along these lines. And it seems to me that maybe right now, when it seems to me that the curtain may somehow rise, this state component started to overwhelm human component. That is why maybe the school is now under such pressure, because this idea, it leads to balance between man and the state. You can ban saying that it's patriotism and you shouldn't have any warm feelings towards another state, some other state, because the state, your own state, decided that it's needed, but you can't forbid empathy for somebody else. You can't forbid people to communicate. But nowadays the situation is it's mostly dialogues between the people in military uniforms. That's why I feel that civic dialogue is this burning need today across the world, so that people should know something about one another, so that should be transparent, very much like the thing is here. We do not hit one another because we're transparent. We have space where we can come to an agreement. And that's why I have no doubt that this idea, well, in this school, will carry on in this school. And in this sense, this is decision.
This is our own decision, and so that it can last in different spaces, in different environments. And so I'm like a tutor of distant programs, so I would like just to make a certain proposal, and I will get a feedback from you, so your response, I will participate in everything that I refer to as a civil dialogue. And so we have an online resource, online programs. So next year we're going to come on air, so it's every Sunday. And so there will be an English translation, so we hope we'll expand our environment, our space, and because there are lots of participants, but we want the more the better. And we'd like to expand this transparency between the people, so that people get to hear each other, and so that they listen to each other's opinions about what they think, what other people think, so to get the takes of other people. And so then you can always visit our site and find it there, as one of the places where you can cooperate and talk and convey messages. So at this school, because you'll be compiling this school as we've been doing.
Only 2 words. I just wanted to say one thing. You know, often people in Russia sometimes attack the school of civic education because they say, well, it's teaching people the wrong thoughts. But the purpose of the school is not to tell people what to think. Of course it's not. That shouldn't be the purpose of any educational institution. It should be to actually tell people how to think. Give people an idea of how to think, not what to think. I mean, what to think is indoctrination. How to think is wisdom. And I think one of the things that, you know, people will get from the school, if they value it, is the ability to evaluate arguments, the ability to assess evidence, the ability and belief that you must come to your own opinion about things, not accept just what you read, not even in as good a paper as the Financial Times, which has quite a few biases I could tell you about, but Quentin didn't, and learn to follow, to follow the truth, a love of truth. I think, to me, that's the most important thing that anyone can have. It's a religious thing, a love of truth, a preference for truth. It's very difficult to achieve in real life. You always have to compromise. You always have to be politically aware. You mustn't be foolhardy unless you want to be a martyr. But I think to cling to truth is vital. And to me, the school is just an oracle of this. It is a symbol of this attitude to life. And for that, I am very grateful to it. I'm very grateful to the opportunities it's given me for meeting so many wonderful Russians. And I hope it continues to do this service for a long time to come.
And I wanted just to follow up and say a couple more words about what Christina was saying and the previous speaker. That has to do that we're raising issues, but we don't give answers. And to follow up on what Robert was saying. Robert was saying that we should not say what, but how. And this is very important. I want us to pinpoint the question. So we've been talking about senses, meanings for 4 years. It's very important, but the school, in my view, in my opinion, gives us something more. It gives us something, language, lingo. So how to put thoughts into words, in which way. And I don't want just to talk about the labels that are attached to a school now from outside, because the richer we are, the wiser we are, because we are getting richer and because we have different terminology, different glossary, because the wise person is different from an educated person because he can use his own brains, he has analytical brain, and he puts everything in doubt, and he is he's scrutinizing the reality, and he lives by the live, vibrant thought. And we certainly live through the language because we always think in words, and so that's how we perceive reality, and this is our symbolic existence. That's the reason why I think that the school gives a great deal. Personally, I'm a philologist by education, but every time for me, it's new forms of existence, of senses and meanings and logic. And because this parallel reality, which is being created now by propaganda in the media, and so it's closed in its ossified forms. And so the more, once we just learn to differentiate between these ossified forms and use the different language that we're using during our seminars, and we need to religiously save it.
Over 15 years, as you know, have resisted making comments at the end of seminars because it's always seemed to me that it was intended to be, as it were, that the chance of the students to have their word and not those of us who have other performances to do and undertake to sort of dominate and to lecture or hector them at this late stage. However, sitting here at a time of considerable stress for the school, faced with the legislation we are, I looked up at the Rogues Gallery here, where my picture is, and everybody who's been performing here, and particularly at the top, of course, we have the 3 stars of the founding period. And then up on the top is probably is indeed ironically the most succinctly expressed qualities of the school under the presidential seal and the signature of Mr. Putin, which I can't read from here, but I seem to recall he summed up the 3 great qualities of the school, first, that it's here to encourage and promote people and teach them how to express themselves freely, openly, with passion and tolerance. Secondly, that the school is opening the horizons of young people. It's unlocking the roadblocks of prejudices in their minds. And thirdly, to do that, it is opening up Russians to meet together and discuss together with non-Russians. And that is something which, if as valuable as it was when written 10 years ago, it is as valuable now, and there should be a second thought by the person who wrote it as to the consequences, possibly unimagined consequences, of the legislation which now is affecting all the future of this school and of the people who have been through it. And that should be broadcast worldwide on the net and everywhere else across Russia. That statement is worth you all reading.
And I'd like to give huge thanks to Keith, because so it's he was in the British Parliament for 23 years, but now just he said something very close to his heart things, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for this wonderful statement. Wonderful statement. Thank you. Nikita, where is Nikita? He left. Okay, Nikita, what would you like to say? Good evening. Once again, I would like to in conclusion of this seminar, to come out with three thoughts that Nikita Mochko, a graduate of 2014 Moscow. Three points I wanted to clarify. So at seminars, in the media, in the research, and in the seminars, so we speak about that the Russian people are passive, inertial, no initiative, closed in upon itself. It's not true. It's not true. And as I've seen, 100 people, 100 civil activists, and every year, year in, year out, more and more. So there were more participants, people coming, burgeoning, and it means that the Russian people have always been active before the Soviet Union, in the Empire, Soviet Union, now. But what's the difference between where we are and what's so distinguishing about where we are? That's for many years, for dialogue, for discussion. So there is a site where people can get together. And so there were many sites before, but they were spontaneous, they were not long-lasting, and they disappeared. And so more than 20 years ago, so that's exactly here in Moscow School, was set up this wonderful site where these activists, people of active minds, by dialogue, they formed what later became got the name of civil society. The second point, and I wanted to support my colleague from Tyumen, Christina, that it is true that television and many books that are published in big circulations, they give yes/no answers. That's very simple, black, white. I read, I understood. Thank you very much. No need to think. And you could actually, but we can make two corollaries, and we can make two objections actually. So we all speak about humanitarian sphere. And there are no axioms there. There are no axioms there because they are humanities, and that's why it keeps changing. Everything is in flux, as the old wisdom says. And then the second point that we need to pay attention to is in the middle of the 20th century, German philosopher Carl Schmitt thought that politics is a game of two things, yes and no. But politics and economics it's more than yes and no. It's consensus, it's compromise, which is achieved by way of dialogue, and our school is exactly the site for this kind of dialogue in the post-Soviet space. And the third point I wanted to say about it, what Sveta said, I want to echo it. And so we have this wonderful rich program, so there's a school, many seminars in Russia and the regions, so and abroad and everything. But the school has yet another strength that we need to point out. It's a publishing program that Yury Petrovich heads. And over these years, the school has published a lot of books, and so we've seen just a few. And Andrei Alexandrovich says we need to read a lot. Andrei Alexandrovich speaks about only reading will allow you to depart from this paradigm of yes and no. Only reading makes you think. And this is and so we're still graduates of the school of this Civil Society Institute. We thought up a new online project that's discussing books published or have already published, going to be published at school. It's on internet, online. If anyone wishes, he'll be welcome to participate, join in, and so you will not be disappointed because 20 years, so many books, so wonderful, amazing books have been published. And that any thinking person should read them. And so the first discussion on the book that the school published recently, Pierre Zarvalon, so the Society of Equals, so will take place on the 17th of December at 6 p.m. on our site. Please join in. Thank you, Nikita. Nikita has made something that actually the manager should have done, because we didn't speak much about the publishing effort of our school, because we failed to say that if you have any wish, we can give you for free. So the books to libraries, Republican, regional, higher education institutions, libraries. So please sign in an application. We'll send you all these books. And this is what the manager should have said, but I will speak as a graduate, a 2007 graduate that I am. And this is amazing because here at this seminar I feel more like a listener and a student than a manager. So I need to do something about it, but that's exactly I have to admit to. And I was less social, and but I've been watching very closely and listening to you. And I am very happy that we have this great team, great group. Whenever we invite the media and the society, when we invite people for the seminar, because the journalists are a specific audience, uncommon, unlikely audience, and in such conditions, so they may be even less predictable, more specific. But actually, it worked out well. So having so many journalists here. What I wanted to point out about my response as a graduate, so I've been thinking about, we've been discussing the present and the future, but effectively we speak about the past at school, because through the past we need to understand what future would look like. And always, so a great deal of attention has been paid to the 20th century, totalitarian legacy, and then unrecognized nature of the mistakes and crimes of the totalitarian regime. Arseny Raginsky, Daniel were talking about the crimes, and Zubov and many others spoke about that. And a lot of attention was paid to the beginning of the 20th century when we considered the attempts of the establishment of the first institutions of the civil society, development of the civil society. And you've seen these books that Maklakov and Struver and then many Williams and many others that Alexei and Karamazov, many others. We always just stress that, the importance of that. Now, there's kind of, we go back, for me, we back up to the 19th century. And it's great that this Alexander Arkhangelsky movie about Korolenko was shown. It was great because it's very telling, very important story that was described in that movie. It's then going to the people, currying favor with the people, playing to the gallery. So I think that it's high time we had understood why we were doing that some time ago, but we're trying just to understand the attempts of peaceful and violent change of the society and the state. And I think it's very important to keep the right evaluation of values, proper attitude to values. We need to keep it, to save it. And so Poole understood reality. And so bad conditions to understand reality. And so when the discussion sites are destroyed. And this is, you're losing your bearings. And so we're here not to lose our bearings, and even to gain those main bearings. And we're talking that when you feel a certain feeling of responsibility, And this is very important, very salient a point, very telling, because responsibility. So when you took responsibility when you decided to come here, that's a great deal, and that responsibility will stay with you when you go. So not everyone can maintain critical thinking. Not everyone can adhere to basic values. They fail to do that. And I think that in this audience were many people who managed to maintain this sobriety of thinking and main points that civil dignity, etc. Much will depend on such people. And I wish you every kind of success and good luck, and I hope many of you will stay with us and will walk together and will be useful to each other. Success to you all, guys. And effectively, I, as Alena from Khabarovsk, I'm an optimist. And I stay an optimist after this meeting, because there are no political regimes that don't change. So I keep saying that. Even if we think that this is forever, and don't believe that. So you are being lied to. Everything changes. Nothing endures but change. Do you remember that? That oil will go cheaper. Okay, oil got cheaper. That's it. You see. So we waited that something would happen, and certainly, I can tell you that it's something. Things will start to change. I cannot delineate. I cannot deliberate what exactly what shape it will take, but it will certainly start changing. And then concerning our school. And I'm an optimist too, in spite of the fact that these bad things are occurring around our school. But I'm optimistic for a simple reason, that what I see for many years, I see that what the school is doing, and what Yury and Lena are doing, what all of us do, there is demand for that, a great deal of demand, and this is all that counts. Because this is wonderful. Sitting around the table since morning till 10 o'clock in the evening for 4 days, doing nothing but listen. But there is a desire. So there is a demand for that. It means that there will be certain institutions who will satisfy, who will generate the social capital, and our school is the institution that actually generates social capital. That's it. And the last, I was happy to have been associating with you. Thank you. Thank you all. Huge thanks that you participated, that you came long distances, that your brains and minds were developing, and you exercised your minds by the acquisition of knowledge and the school to get this feeling, this taste, to this individual, your own unique way of thinking. And as long as such philosophers as you and many others, they say that this is enlightenment, this is light. So we can always borrow the words from a great book. So go as long as light is with you.
Приятного аппетита, коллеги. Продолжим общаться.
Bon appétit.
Друзья, обязательно при выходе сдавайте переводчики. Там сидит специально ждущий ваш человек.